Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, the 2nd of October 1869 to the 30th of January 1948, was an Indian lawyer, anti-colonial nationalist, and political ethicist, who employed non-violent resistance to lead the successful campaign for India's independence from British rule, and in turn inspired movements for civil rights and freedom across the world. The honorific Mahatma, Sanskrit, great-souled venerable, first applied to him in 1914 in South Africa, is now used throughout the world. Born and raised in a Hindu family in coastal Gujarat, Western India, Gandhi trained in law at the Inner Temple, London, and was called to the bar at age 22 in June 1891. After 2 uncertain years in India, where he was unable to start a successful law practice, he moved to South Africa in 1893, to represent an Indian merchant in a lawsuit. He went on to live in South Africa for 21 years. It was in South Africa that Gandhi raised a family, and first employed nonviolent resistance in a campaign for civil rights. In 1915, age 45, he returned to India. He set about organizing peasants, farmers, and urban laborers to protest against excessive land tax and discrimination. Assuming leadership of the Indian National Congress in 1921, Gandhi led nationwide campaigns for easing poverty, expanding women's rights, building religious and ethnic amity, ending untouchability, and above all for achieving Swaraj or self-rule. The same year Gandhi adopted the Indian loincloth or short dhoti, in the winter, a shawl, both woven with yarn hand-spun on a traditional Indian spinning wheel, or charkha, as a mark of identification with India's rural poor. Thereafter, he lived modestly in a self-sufficient residential community, ate simple vegetarian food, and undertook long fast as a means of self-purification and political protest. Bringing anti-colonial nationalism to the common Indians, Gandhi led them in challenging the British-imposed salt tax with the 400-kilometer Dandi Salt March in 1930, and later in calling for the British to quit India in 1942. He was imprisoned for many years, upon many occasions, in both South Africa and India. Gandhi's vision of an independent India based on religious pluralism was challenged in the early 1940s by a new Muslim nationalism which was demanding a separate Muslim homeland carved out of Indian. In August 1947, Britain granted independence, but the British Indian Empire was partitioned into 2 dominions, a Hindu-majority India and Muslim-majority Pakistan. As many displaced Hindus, Muslim, and Sikhs made their way to their new lands, religious violence broke out, especially in the Punjab and Bengal. Eschewing the official celebration of independence in Delhi, Gandhi visited the affected areas. Attempting to provide solace in the months following, he undertook several fasts unto death to stop religious violence. The last of these, undertaken on the 12th of January 1948, when he was 78, also had the indirect goal of pressuring India to pay out some cash assets owed to Pakistan. Some Indians thought Gandhi was too accommodating. Among them was Nathuram Goose, a Hindu nationalist, who assassinated Gandhi on the 30th of January 1948 by firing 3 bullets into his chest. Gandhi's birthday, the 2nd of October, is commemorated in India as Gandhi Jayanti, a national holiday, and worldwide as the International Day of Nonviolence. Gandhi is commonly, though not formally, considered the father of the nation in India, and was commonly called Bapu, Gujarati, endearment for father, Papa. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born on the 2nd of October 1869, into an Gujarati Madh Banya family of the Vaishya Varna in Porbandar, also known as Sudamapuri, a coastal town on the Kathiawar Peninsula and then part of the small princely state of Porbandar in the Kathiawar Agency of the Indian Empire. His father, Karamchand Udhamchand Gandhi (1822–1885), served as the Dewan Chief Minister of Porbandar State. Although he only had an elementary education and had previously been a clerk in the state administration, Karamchand proved a capable chief minister. During his tenure, Karamchand married 4 times. His first 2 wives died young, after each had given birth to a daughter, and his third marriage was childless. In 1857, Karamchand sought his third wife's permission to remarry. That year, he married Putlabai 1844-1891, who also came from Junagadh, and was from a Pranami Vaishnava family. Karamchand and Putlabai had 3 children over the ensuing decade. A son, Laxmidas 1860-1914, a daughter, Raliatbiha 1862-1960, and another son, Karsandas 1866-1913. On the 2nd of October 1869, Putlabai gave birth to her last child, Mohandas, in a dark, windowless ground floor room of the Gandhi family residence in Porbandar city. As a child, Gandhi was described by his sister Raliat as restless as Mercury, either playing or roaming about. One of his favorite pastimes was twisting dogs' ears. The Indian classics, especially the stories of Shravana and King Harish Chandra, had a great impact on Gandhi in his childhood. In his autobiography, he admits that they left an indelible impression on his mind. He writes, "It haunted me and I must have acted Harish Chandra to myself times without number." Gandhi's early self-identification with truth and love as supreme values is traceable to these epic characters. The family's religious background was eclectic. Gandhi's father Karamchand was Hindu and his mother Putlabai was from a Pranami Vaishnava Hindu family. Gandhi's father was of Madhbaniya caste in the Varna of Vaishya. His mother came from the medieval Krishna Bhakti-based Pranami tradition, whose religious texts include the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavata Purana and a collection of 14 texts with teachings that the tradition believes to include the essence of the Vedas, the Quran and the Bible. Gandhi was deeply influenced by his mother, an extremely pious lady who would not think of taking her meals without her daily prayers. She would take the hardest vows and keep them without flinching. To keep 2 or 3 consecutive fasts was nothing to her. In 1874, Gandhi's father Karamchand left Porbandar for the smaller state of Raikot, where he became a councillor to its ruler, the Thakur Sahib. Though Raikot was a less prestigious state than Porbandar, the British regional political agency was located there, which gave the state's Dewan a measure of security. In 1876, Karamchand became Dewan of Raikot and was succeeded as Dewan of Porbandar by his brother Tulsidas. His family then rejoined him in Raikot. At age 9, Gandhi entered the local school in Raikot, near his home. There he studied the rudiments of arithmetic, history, the Gujarati language and geography. At age 11, he joined the high school in Raikot, Alfred High School. He was an average student, won some prizes, but was a shy and tongue-tied student, with no interest in games. His only companions were books and school lessons. In May 1883, the 13-year-old Mohandas was married to 14-year-old Kasturbai Makanji Kapadia. Her first name was usually shortened to Kasturba, and affectionately to Ba, in an arranged marriage, according to the custom of the region at that time. In the process, he lost a year at school but was later allowed to make up by accelerating his studies. His wedding was a joint event, where his brother and cousin were also married. Recalling the day of their marriage, he once said, "As we didn't know much about marriage, for us it meant only wearing new clothes, eating sweets and playing with relatives." As was prevailing tradition, the adolescent bride was to spend much time at her parents' house, and away from her husband. Writing many years later, Mohandas described with regret the lustful feelings he felt for his young bride. "Even at school I used to think of her, and the thought of nightfall and our subsequent meeting was ever haunting me." He later recalled feeling jealous and possessive of her, such as when she would visit a temple with her girlfriends, and being sexually lustful in his feelings of her. In late 1885, Gandhi's father Karamchand died. Gandhi, then 16 years old, and his wife of age 17, had their first baby, who survived only a few days. The 2 deaths anguished Gandhi. The Gandhi couple had 4 more children, all sons: Harilal, born in 1888, Manilal, born in 1892, Ramdas, born in 1897, and Devdas, born in 1900. In November 1887, the 18-year-old Gandhi graduated from high school in Ahmedabad. In January 1888, he enrolled at Samaldas College in Bhavnagar state, then the sole degree-granting institution of higher education in the region. But he dropped out and returned to his family in Porbandar. A big thank you to all of you for watching.